What up, Huck Squad, and welcome to another week of the Monday Night Match Play League here at Borderland State Park. And typically it's on Monday nights, but moving forward it will be played on Tuesday nights and uploaded on Tuesday nights. Tonight we have a fun card with Hallie and Kayla, Dan, and James. And we will be playing the white-to-white layout. Alright, first of all, thanks for coming out again. This has been super fun, and last week we had 26, I think tonight we have 23. Thanks for coming out and supporting the league. Obviously it's a free-to-play league, none of us are competing for cash, we're just out here having some fun, trying to scratch that competitive itch a little bit. So we're playing the white-to-white layout tonight. Normally we try to do like 13 holes, but since we're playing whites tonight, I think we'll be able to fit a hole 18 in. Starting off on the feature card on the vlog, it's going to be Kayla versus Hallie and Dan C versus James Barron. Hole 1, we have an A-pool match between Mahoney and Bear, and a B-pool match between Mikey and Jeffy. Hole 2, we have Mark versus Drama in the A-pool, and Jack versus Jason Lavoie in the B-pool. Hole 4, we have Kevin Kulig versus Steven in the A-pool, and Zach versus Jason Verhusky in the B-pool. And then hole 5, we actually have a three-way match play match between Cattell, Will, and Nick. And I know you know how that works. Okay, cool. Starting holes right here. It's not these ones. It's on here.
We're on hole 1. Yeah, Will just dropped somebody. Going to 3.
Good to meet you.
I feel like I've seen you around.
Let's go, fam! Oh. Good luck, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
All right.
Good luck. You too, buddy.
So the feature card started on a hole 18 tonight, and here is Hallie lining up her turnover shot.
Ooh, that's terrible.
Kayla looking to get up and around the corner. The basket's just tucked around the corner there. The white layout here at Borderland is a par 54. Every hole is a par 3, so there are no par 4s out here today. Here we have James lining up a forehand shot, just to get a little bit of a weird kick there at the end. And here we have Dan, also lining up a forehand shot. Maybe turns it over just a bit more than he had wanted to. Catches a tree there on the left. Here's Kayla for her upshot. Nice turnover. Oh, and just catches the tree. I told her after that shot that looked so perfect. Just an unfortunate tree hit there. Hallie landed in a tough spot. See if she can scramble out of here. Does get out, but catches a little bit of a thin tree there on the edge and kicks it down, probably to about 30 feet. There's Dan lining up about an 80-footer. Oof, just in front of the basket there. Kayla with that unfortunate tree kick put her to about 50. And leaves that one a bit short. Here's Hallie to see if she can convert a par from about circle's edge. Also leaves it just a little bit short. James got a weird kick back to the left in the woods there and has a look, so let's see if he can convert his circle's edge putt for bird. Just off the front. Maybe a little bit of nerves here on the first hole in front of the camera. But Kayla's able to tap in her bogey there. Dan's tapping in his par, just a couple routine putts here on the first hole. And Hallie tapping in her bogey, so no movement here on the first hole. We are even moving into the second hole, which is hole 1. Big downhill shot down that left alleyway.
That definitely's got to hurt.
You have Kayla with a really nice rip down that left side, nice and straight with a good fade at the end. James also trying to follow that same line. Oh, but just hits that tree guarding the right side of the fairway. This hole's probably about 330 feet downhill. Probably plays closer to 300 just because of that downhill factor. Dan does get a clean shot up there with a good fade out to the left. Probably a little bit too much fade, but nice clean shot. Hallie scrambling a little bit from about halfway up the fairway. Throws a good shot, but it does catch some high cheddar and falls to about, I don't know, maybe 80 feet short of the basket there. This hole looks really wooded, but there is some really distinct lines. I'm just kind of standing off on an angle so that I can get a good view of the hole, but it's not as wooded as these camera shots make it seem. James puts it pretty close, and Kayla's just trying to get up and down now. Here we have Hallie, probably about 80 feet for par. just off the top of the basket. That was so close. Here's Dan from probably 45 feet. Sails it just over the basket, but did get a good rock hit there and bounced it just backwards towards the basket just a little bit, probably leaving himself about 20 feet, a little uphill. Here's Kayla. Maybe a little bit timid there. It is a tough drop off behind there, and if you miss, sometimes you can be standing in a tough spot, so they just ended up pushing the hole. Here's Dan, see if he can hit his comebacker, and he does, dead center. That's a nice putt to hit for par. Asks if James wants it, and he graciously accepts if he'll give it to him. Never say no. Here's a little walk over to hole 2. We are even on the match. Here's Hallie on top of the box, throwing a big backhand turnover shot, which does end up flexing out just late enough to keep herself in the fairway. Here's Kayla. Let's see if she can match that shot. Also throws a nice power backhand, nice and straight. Really had no chance of going too far left or too far right. Really good placement shot. Here's James. Looks like he turns it over just a little bit. Maybe wrong disc selection, maybe a little bit of a yank there, but does leave himself kind of a long upshot to the basket now. And here's Dan, power crusher, putting an absolute rip into this one. Is flexing out. Let's see if it can get a skip. And it does. This is a 430-foot hole, slightly uphill, and he put it to about 35, probably just around circle's edge. Here's Kayla. Left yourself a little bit short, but another good placement shot there. And it is raining a little bit on this hole. I was hoping that it was going to calm down, which it eventually did. Here's James from pretty far out there, and outdrives the basket just a little bit, but that's a solid upshot. Hallie playing a pretty standard, traditional hyzer line. Puts it right to the pin. So this putt for Kayla is for 3, and it pretty much has to go in. Leaves it just a little bit low. And here's Dan for 2. A pretty elusive 2 for most of us here at Borderland. Not many people can get a 2 here at hole 2 Borderland Whites, and there it is. Nice 2 there, Dan. Definitely deserves a point. Hallie's tapping in her par, which will also take a point on the hole. First movement of the match. Hallie is now 1 up, and Dan is now 1 up. And typically we play 13 holes of match play here, but I think with the white-to-white layout being short, I think we'll be able to squeeze all 18 in. Hallie lining up that turnover backhand here, and it rides that line really nice. Glides out and fades back at the end. That was a really impressive shot. Here's Kayla taking the route more up the middle. It's a little bit more dangerous off the tee, but it is the route that I prefer as well, just because if you hit that initial gap, you're pretty much most likely to hyzer onto that hill or just past the hill. Great placement shot. Here's Dan, also electing to take that line. Throws it a little higher. See if he can avoid it. Just does catch a little bit of a limb, which knocks him down slightly short of the basket. James taking the same line that Hallie took. That turnover, a little less turn though. It's really hard to take that line and ride the hill the way that Hallie did it, so just shows how impressive that first shot was. Here's Kayla's upshot. Nicks that tree just a little bit, but puts it right underneath the basket. And where I'm kind of positioned with the camera right now, you can't see how much of a hill this is, but the rollaways on this hole happen so often and so fast, so you can get a little bit of a glimpse here as I come down a little bit on the hill, but you catch a little bit of basket or you catch a little bit of a root, and you are definitely going to roll to like circle's edge. Here's where Hallie's drive landed, and that is a great drive. Leaves it a little low on the birdie look, but nothing to be upset with there. Dan with his birdie look. Can't quite get it around the tree close enough to still give himself a look. Here's James from about 22 feet uphill for par to push the hole. Dead center, no problem. Nice putt there, especially with the camera right behind him. I know that can be distracting sometimes. There's Dan with that driver putt, almost kicked himself back out off of that pole. And a couple routine pars here. 2 pushes. Here at hole 4, kind of a little bit of a backhand turnover up the right side there. Hallie does seem to turn it over more than she would have liked to. Can't really see the basket right now. It's tucked away, probably at like 1 o'clock on the hill. There's Kayla with a nice flat drive, once again, nice and straight with a little fade at the end, puts herself right to the base of the hill. Here's Dan with selecting with the forehand route. Nice and low, let it ride the hill, kind of get a skip up. Doesn't quite get a skip up, but does stick there right in circle 1. Here's James as well. Ooh, maybe leaves it a little higher than he would have wanted. Oh, and just catches a limb. Probably about 30 feet up and falls, you know, definitely in the circle 2 range from the basket. Haley's out in the rough and can't quite seem to get out. And there's like a tree and a bunch of like knots of branches right in front of her. Kayla with a nice up and down, put herself to about 6 feet. And Haley pretty much has to make this and catches a tree right around circle's edge, leaving her a pretty long putt now for 4, actually. And James hitting that uphill 60-foot, like patent pending little throw almost for birdie. What a nice shot. Haley with a double bogey. Not much she can do here now. Dan with a birdie to tie and push the hole. There was some confusion between Dan and Kayla, but Kayla ended up taking a 4 there, which still took the point on Haley. But there was a push with birdies with the gentleman on that hole. Here at hole 5, big hyzer. Most people elect to take that outside route, which is more straight off the tee right now, with something a little fast that's going to fade around the corner. Kayla catches that first tree on the right. Haley makes a good adjustment, going more left and inside, and gets pretty much full flight all the way up there. That's a great shot. There's Dan. Let's see if he can hit that hyzer line, and he also catches that first tree on the right. That first tree on the right just got 3 out of 4 of the people on the card, and that is quite common because you're trying to get a power hyzer around that corner, and it is just very easy to pull it a little bit right out of your hand. That upshot was actually really impressive from James. That was a really tight gap, and he hit it and flipped up the disc nice enough to give himself a long putt. Dan's got out of trouble forehand. Also fights himself all the way up there to circle 1. That was really cool. Kayla with a patent pending. Throws it a little bit low. I think she might have rushed that shot a little bit, and that footing was really tough. I think she was in some thorns, so she was probably just like, get me out of these thorns. Long look for 3 there. And here's Haley for her 2, so if she just puts this close, that pretty much secures the point. Which she puts it to about 8 feet. Here's James, see if he can kind of put some pressure on with a 30-foot putt. And just inside. And here's Dan with his, 25, 28-foot putt for par. And it was a pretty nice night tonight. It was pretty overcasty, but that does make for some pretty good camera angles, and the lighting isn't too harsh when the sunlight isn't just beating down on us. But that was a nice par by Haley. And Haley is 1 up, and Dan is now at 2 up, heading into hole 6. Small little backhand hyzer. I think the sign there says it's 245 feet, and Haley pulls that a little bit to the right and misses right, but that's a good miss because a little less trees out there. Here's Kayla, also with a little bit of a miss to the right, but I think I lose the disc here. You can't really see where it finishes. It does finish up there on the right side of the fairway. Here's Dan, hitting the middle line, maybe a little bit higher than he would have liked, but you can see the orange flag of the basket there. And James, let's see if he can hit that gap and maybe give himself a good look for bird. He hit the inside line, see if he can grab the rocks that are up there on the green and maybe sit down in circle 1. We had a group of 6 casuals play through us here. Borderland's one of the most popular casual courses out here, so especially when I'm doing a filmed round and we're kind of taking our time, you always got to let people play through. Here's Kayla from about 70, leaves it just a little bit short. And Haley from probably circle 2's edge, also leaves it a little bit short. Here's Dan from probably middle of circle 2. And cashes the birdie putt. That was a solid 45-footer, just dead center. Put some pressure here on James, who just barely hits the front of the cage, top rim. No, that was just barely close enough. Oh no, to going in. And speaking of going in, that went in and just trickled out left. What a sad little miss there. So that little miss just gave Hallie the point. So now Haley's up 2 and Dan is up 3 heading into hole 7. This hole is so beautiful, so I ended up walking down to the catch cam position to get a little bit of a better vantage point. Here's Hallie leading off, throwing a nice shot, getting herself around the corner, leaving herself a clean up shot to the basket. Probably gives herself, I don't know, maybe another 130 feet. Here's Kayla. Throws it a little bit low, but it also looks like there was a little bit of a wind bounce in there that kind of just sucked it to the ground. Here's Dan. Gives it some good height, some good power. You can see it still cruising through the gap. And fades out just in front of the basket there. Probably leaves himself maybe about a 40-footer, 45-footer. And here's James. Looks like it came out a little bit early. Catches some of that inside line, but does sneak through to the grassy area, leaving himself an open up shot. Here's Kayla's up shot. And leaves herself a lot shorter than she would have liked. See if she can maybe put some pressure on here with a long putt and get something going here. James with a pretty standard hyzer in. Puts himself to the base of the basket. Hallie for 2 here. Also a pretty standard hyzer in. Slightly short, a little bit of work to do there, but nothing she can't manage. Here's Kayla. Put a little pressure on Haley's 3. And leaves it just a little bit short. Dan for 2. Can he keep the magic rolling here? Just off the top band. It's Hallie lining up her par putt. And sees a little bit of a chain that she's, maybe a little distracted by. Moves that thing. Drops in her par putt. Claims it shouldn't have went in, but moving the chains might have gave her some good karma. Takes the point there, and Hallie is now 3 up, and Dan is still 3 up. Moving into hole 8, you have to get over the rock wall there, or else it is considered OB. Speaking of which, did not go over, and that is considered OB. Here's Kayla. If she gets over the rock wall, that's a big advantage, which she does. And you can see the flag there in the middle of the screen. That is where the basket is. Pretty short shot, probably around 220 feet. Here's Dan going up the middle with a forehand. More traditional line for someone who has a forehand. Here's James also going to the right with the backhand line over that little slanted tree. Oh, little tough tree hit. I don't know if that would have helped him or hurt him too much, but here's Hallie from the drop zone. Pretty much has to put this in. Because, yeah, now she'll be putting for 4 underneath the basket. And here's Kayla for 2. It says, even if you weren't at that drop zone, I'm still taking this point. So that's a good point there by Kayla. Here's Dan putting for birdie. Nice birdie there. And here's James for a birdie as well. See if he can push the point here with some birdies. Which he does. Nice confident putt right there into the middle of the basket. So 3 birdies on hole 8. That's really good to see. Hallie is now 2 up, and the boys pushed, so Dan is still 3 up. The boys now take the box because in match play, typically halfway through the match, you switch who's on top of the box. James with a forehand that he just kind of turns and burns into the ground there. There's Kayla lining up that backhand, and once again, just nice and smooth, nice and flat with that fade at the end. Hallie also lining up that backhand with maybe a little bit more turn than she would have wanted out of it. Does kick back to the fairway, though. You can hear her laughing a little bit as that disc comes out of her hand, and she definitely grip locked that a little bit to the right. Here's James with his upshot. And just flashing the basket there. I actually, in real time, I thought that was going in. That was a great upshot. Kayla with another patent pending shot. See if she can kind of get some revenge on that patent pending shot she had earlier, which she does. Does get a little bit of love off that tree, but lands right next to the basket. Here's Dan. He's trying to run this thing from like 120. Leaves it a little bit low right. And this is pretty much to push the hole because Kayla's right under the basket. Leaves it just a little bit wide. Here's James for par. It was a good upshot that he had there. Here's Kayla for par and to take the point. And here's Dan for par to push the point. So moving into hole 10, we have Haley is now 1 up, and Dan continues to hold his lead at 3 up. Hole 10's a really short hole. I think it says 230 on the sign, but it plays, I don't know, it feels like it plays shorter than that. Plays closer to 200, I mean, for some reason. Here's James also throwing the forehand shot. Hits that tree a little high and gets a little bit of a roll back into the fairway there, leaving himself a long look. Kayla playing a turnover, just catches that tree. You really just want to beat that tree to the left. Just yanks it just a little bit more than she would have liked. And Haley also playing a turnover shot, hits that big guardian tree. See if Kayla can kind of get herself up and down from this tough spot. And that was a pretty good shot, honestly. There's really not much to do from in there. And once again, that big guardian tree just kind of got in the way of her shot. Here's James from 50. Rings up another long putt. James has just been hitting those long putts today. See if Haley can follow suit. Leaves it just a little bit short. Kayla to push the hole. Also leaves it just a little bit short. Here's where Dan's drive ended up. See if he can tap in his little 10-foot birdie putt, which he does. So that was a great putt by James there to push the hole because Dan was just parked. So that's the beauty of match play, though. When you're playing an opponent and they're parked, you have absolutely no option but to just run it because even if you miss, it doesn't matter. Here at hole 11, I'm back up at the catch cam position. Here's Dan throwing a good shot and just catches that rock. I'm sure if it didn't hit that rock, it might have checked up a little bit further, but he should still have a nice little 18-footer. Here's James playing the turnover shot, seeing if he can get around the evergreens and back. And that disc is stable enough where it does flex back. Leaves himself a nice 22-footer right at the basket, slightly downhill. Here's Haley. Catches one of those like bushes and just falls pretty much like 100-something feet short from the basket. And here's Kayla, maybe can make an adjustment off that line, and pretty much does. Throws a similar line as to what James threw, just a little bit shorter, and leaves herself an open up shot to the basket. Here's Haley, see if she can get up and down for par. Plays a hyzer into the gap, gets a nice little roll, probably puts herself to about 12 feet. Here's Kayla. Kind of a little bit of the how it's been going today, just leaving the disc a little bit lower than she would have liked to. See if she can give this a good run under the low ceiling, and she does, but that ceiling is so low, and I've had that putt so many times. That was actually a really good bid from where she was.
Oh, that was so cute.
Haley just kind of like a missed opportunity there. She could have taken a point there, but kind of gives Kayla some more life heading down the stretch. James with a good birdie putt. Looking straight at the basket from about 22 feet. See if Dan can match that. Oh, just catches a little bit of the nub. Doesn't catch enough chains to keep himself in. So James will take the point on that one. Hole 12 is a downhill forehand for anyone who does have a forehand. Playing that backhand turnover if not.
Got in that grass.
The grass is pretty long right now, so you can't really depend on the skip, and James left that a little bit low, and the grass just ate it up. Dan kind of turned it over out of his hand, but it did get a lucky kick for him back into the fairway. Here we have Haley lining up the backhand turnover. Does get a good rip on it, but once again, the grass just kind of eats it up down there. And here's Kayla also playing the backhand turnover. Just barely doesn't get inside of that gap, but like she said, landed in the center fairway. Playing a nice little turnover shot up to the basket. And kind of gave that one a run. She went like 35 long, and she was kind of like chain high as she was going by the basket. So that was a pretty good shot, but is going to leave her a tester putt coming back. James with a decent run from about 60. See what Haley can do from about 60. Gives herself a safe hyzer run, puts it to the base of the basket, and says, you know, if Kayla's going to take a point on me or at least push the hole, she's going to have to hit a long putt. Dan leaves his putt just a little bit inside. And here's Kayla from about 40, I would say. And cashes it to push the hole. That was a huge putt, and what good momentum to build as you're kind of heading down the back end of the match. Here's James for his par putt. gets it up and in. Doesn't matter. It is in the basket. And here's Dan for his par putt. Yep, center pole. Something that impressed me about Dan's play, I had never played with him before, but he was just a really solid putter. And with his putting style and just the confidence he has on the putting green, you can tell that he practiced putts. Like, just if you watch this match and you just watch every putt that Dan takes, you can just tell he has his routine down, he's very confident, and he has a really smooth and strong putting stroke, which is just all attributes of someone who does a lot of putting practice. So that is solid. James left himself a little bit short, and Dan kind of made an adjustment there. Pushed it a little bit further before he wanted it to fade. Here's Hallie also playing a big backhand turnover. Probably threw the best shot on the hole so far. And let's see if Kayla can match that. She's been throwing that driver really nice, really straight. And those were 4 really good drives on this tee pad. Here's Kayla from about 40. See if she can make magic happen again. Ooh, leaves it just a little bit short. Here's James from a similar distance, up on a little bit of a hill, downhill putt. Just barely gets it over the rim. That is a great birdie putt to hit. Here's Dan from about 18 feet for birdie. Yep, up and in. And with the best drive of the bunch, Hallie is going to come tap in her birdie from no further than 3 feet. Nice birdie there, Hallie. With a happy dance off the hole. Hallie is now 3 up and Dan is 2 up. We only got a couple holes left. This match will be ending on 17, barring James turns his over a little bit there. Probably leaves himself a pin high putt from about 40 feet out. Here's Dan throwing a smooth shot right up the middle, checks it up on the hill, and puts it to 1 foot from the pin. That was an impressive shot there. This hole is similar to hole 8 as well, where you have to get over the rock wall.
I love it.
So you have to get over the rock wall there. It is similar to hole 8 earlier, where if you don't get over the rock wall, then you are OB. And there is also a rock wall that lines the left side there, so it's kind of like a right angle that you have to get into. Hallie does land in bounds, and here's Kayla also landing in bounds. James from about 40, 45. Oof, just short. Now kind of has a little bit of a tester, but Dan is parked, so it doesn't really matter if he hits that putt for 3. Kayla's up and down there for her par. See if Hallie can kind of put it in here, take a point. Right out of the hand, she made a sign gesture, so you know that it wasn't really going to go in. Tapping in her par there, and Kayla's going to tap in her par, so there will be a push on that hole with them. Haley's going to keep her lead of 3 up, and Dan is going to have his lead of 3 up after taking a point there. Both matches, the leader is 3 strokes up right now, so this is what's called dormy in match play. It's when you are as many holes back as you are points down, so you pretty much have to win every hole out to even push the match. So this is going to be a tough battle uphill for James and for Kayla to kind of keep these matches going. Haley's playing the big turnover shot. Leaves herself right at the base of the hill with, you know, probably a circle 2 putt from there. There's Kayla, pulls it a little bit inside and catches the tree there, leaving herself in a real tough spot. And, you know, talking about being dormy, she pretty much had to win this hole to keep the match going. And right now, at best, this shot right here would have a chance to push the hole, which would still not really do too much. Here's Hallie. She just needs to get up and down here for 3, and that will seal the deal on the match. And similar thing to James here, he pretty much needed to ace because Dan is parked right there for 2, and even if they both birdied and pushed, that still isn't a win the hole for James. So both matches right now are going to end, and Hallie and Dan both actually took a point on this hole, so they will both end 4 and 2. I'm going to send you guys into the interviews, and I hope you guys enjoyed another week of the Match Play League, and I will see you guys
having you on the vlog.
Thank you.
Tough loss there, but you still played pretty good.
Thank
Had
you.
some birdies in there, but
I did.
Hallie just, you know, got the best of you a little bit.
I did.
But how'd you feel about it?
Good. I always like playing with Hallie. We played Team Challenge last year. She's a good opponent. Always plays well. Good competitor.
What do you think you could work on the most off of today's round?
Oh, certainly my putting. Stuck to my fingers, I lost like a 5-footer.
Well, it was great having you on the vlog. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks,
That was
Noah.
awesome. All right, James.
What up, Huck Squad?
You hit a couple big putts, but you didn't get it done.
You know, for the people.
Yeah.
Gotta throw some bangers in there. Yeah, I just couldn't get clean off the tee today.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy just wasn't missing.
I know, like this freaking guy.
My newest Facebook friend and my newest match play enemy.
Well, thanks for coming on the vlog, bro.
Cheers, buddy.
It was awesome having you, and you hit some couple of good highlights there.
Let's go.
All right, Haley,
Hi,
how did you feel about your first time on the vlog?
I like this. This was fun.
And on hole 1, did you have any Huck Squad yips?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you were
Absolutely.
feeling it in the tummy a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah, yeah. I turned over my Roadrunner immediately. I ended up saving the push, but
Well,
wasn't
it was
great.
nice having you on. You showed some composure down the stretch.
Thank you.
You got some points. You guys were battling. You guys were even, up one, even, up one. You guys were really close the whole way through.
Yeah.
And you pulled it off.
Oh yeah.
All right, it was great having you on.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and lastly, Dan, the guy who could not miss a putt for the first like 9 holes of this round. How'd you feel about your play today?
I think I played pretty good. Like James said, he couldn't really get off the tee. I think we played together 2 or 3 times before, and he's always gotten the best of me, so it was nice to get him once.
Get a little bit of revenge when it
Yes, sir.
matters. Yep. Well, it was nice having you on, and I look forward to having you on the next time, bro.
Thanks.
Yep, good shooting.